This is the chassis setup video for the Summit. We're going to be using those wheel plates I made. I'm actually using my table saw for this setup. This is a rigid table saw, and it has a really nice flat bed. I can align the battery cover, which is right there, to this slot that's in the top of the table saw. That's what your miter gauge rides in on the saw. So very accurate. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to set up the camber of the wheels. So I'm going to zoom you in here and we'll use this square to get that set up. So here we go. For this truck I'm going to set it up with 0-degree camber, which means the wheels are perfectly straight up and down. So we're going to grab our tool here, and if you watched the video where I modified the wheel plates, I'm going to insert that tool through the hole. Now, if the top is out, that means the top needs to go in a little bit. So I'm going to just screw that in, and we're going to check again. Now look at that. Now that was pretty good there. That wasn't rehearsed. Sometimes I just get lucky. Not real often, but sometimes. And we'll just give that a final little tweak, and that looks really good. That's all we're looking for, you know. And it gives you a really good measurement there. So nice and tight. Actually, I think that looks great. So we're going to do the same thing on all the other wheels. I'm not going to go through a long drawn-out process here to save your time and my time, but you're going to do the same adjustment. So if the top needs to go in, you screw the top in. If the bottom needs to go in, you screw the bottom in. If you're bottomed out, then of course you would screw them out, depending on which way you got to go. So just experiment with it, and I think you'll find it's quite easy. If you're really wanting to get cool and do some other camber adjustments, maybe like a -2 degrees, something like this, you could always use a bevel gauge to do that, or a protractor. You could even make a special jig to go up here and measure that angle. So pretty simple stuff, but this is a quick and dirty way to get your suspension checked, and much more accurate than trying to measure off those big mushy tires that comes with the Summit. Alright, we're going to start looking at a toe in here in just a second. Alright, so next thing is toe in. So that's the relationship of the wheels to the chassis. Now this camera kind of distorts things, but basically when the wheel is turned in towards the chassis, that would be toe in. Toe out would be the wheel turned out away from the chassis. For this vehicle, again, I want it set up at 0, so I want it perfectly straight ahead because of the size of the tires. So I set up front and rear camber, which of course is this direction, at 0, straight up and down. And I want the toe in going straight forward, so perfectly aligned with the chassis. So I've set up my truck here with this square to the edge of that line at 2 inches. See if you can see that. So I'm measuring to the battery box, which looks like it's pretty much straight with the chassis, and I've measured that at 2 inches from the groove. That aligns my frame straight ahead with the table, and then I have a huge discrepancy here. The wheels are really towed in on the rear end, so I'm going to get that adjusted. The way we adjust that is we're going to turn this turnbuckle here with a little wrench. Alright, we have a little Traxxas 5mm wrench, and we're just going to put it on that turnbuckle on the rear end. We want the knuckle of the hub to come inboard, so I'm going to rotate the turnbuckle clockwise, and you can watch as that toe in disappears. Notice how it's becoming aligned. Doesn't take much. Now, it's important to note that your chassis hasn't moved around while you're working, so check that occasionally. And we're still at 2 inches front and back, so we're looking good there. And if we come in here and take a measurement, we're actually towed out just slightly now, So we're going to crank it the other direction, go counterclockwise, and get that out of there. So that looks pretty nice right there. So that's what you're going to do, front and rear. It will take you a little while to get that adjusted properly because you have to make sure your chassis hasn't moved around. If you were really particular about this, I would recommend building spacer blocks that go underneath the truck and then clamp the truck down in position aligned with the channel and the table. And you can do this on a kitchen table or other types of tables. Just make sure you have a nice straight edge to go off of. You don't have to have a table saw top. But for me, this was the easiest thing. It's certainly flatter than my workbench up there, but many kitchen tables or even a countertop in your kitchen would work well for this. And just put you a straight line on there, and then you can measure from that. So that's all for now. I'm going to go ahead and fix the front and rear wheels for toe in, and we should be ready to rock and roll. Hey, I'm back one more time. Before I close this video, I got all my camber and toe in set. Looks really good. These setup plates work awesome for this. Cheap, accurate, very fast to use. Just like with anything, the setup of something takes longer than the actual doing the job. So with these setup plates, yeah, it took me maybe 30 minutes to make them. But makes setting up the truck extremely easy and extremely quick, and not to mention quite accurate, especially for this type of vehicle, which is just an off-road truck. So next video, we're going to be talking about these big old tires and trying to figure out how to get them so they're not so out of round. When the vehicle drives, the entire vehicle is kind of bouncing up and down because the tires are out of round. And because I want to make this into an FPV truck, one reason is to test my FPV equipment for my quadcopters and so forth. I want it to roll smoothly, and I think at the factory they may have just smacked those wheels on there quickly and got them a little out of round. So I'm going to see what I can do with that next time, and so join in with me and we'll see if we can fix it. So until next time, thanks for watching another ProjectKing video. Appreciate your support.